Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy here. Welcome back to the channel. Yes, I am back after almost a week of no videos, all because of E3 that happened last week. Now, I've been covering E3 almost exclusively the entire week, staying up all night, pulling graveyard shifts to watch all these live streams from all these developers and publishers and games for work. And now that that's over, I'm bringing back videos and of course the live streams, but I also get to talk about E3 and what I've seen, what games is catching my attention. This is the only time in a year where I got to talk about non-MMORPG games, and of course MMOs if, you know, they do have a place in E3. So let's get straight into it. What has been catching my eye? Which MMOs have announced big things this past E3? We'll begin with Bethesda. Bethesda's E3 conference, I think, for me, was the best among all the other ones I've watched, simply because of the games that was announced and the hype surrounding these games, from the new Fallout to the new Elder Scrolls 6, and yes, we'll talk about that later on. But let's begin with the more MMORPG-centric one, the Elder Scrolls Online. Game director Matt Furrer took to the stage to announce 2 brand new DLCs coming later this year. And remember, we've already had the Somerset chapter launched, so expect these 2 DLCs to come sometime during the summer and after as well. What are these 2 DLCs? Well, the first one is called Wolf Hunter. This is going to be a dungeon-centric DLCs with 2 new dungeons, and from the name itself, you can probably guess what this is going to be about. It's about werewolves. I think this is going to be something similar to what the Dragon Bones DLC brought earlier this year, where it released 2 dragon-themed dungeons. This time around for Wolf Hunter, it's probably the same thing. It's got a storyline within it all about her scene. So if you guys are fans of werewolves in the Elder Scrolls lore, then this DLC could be for you. But of course, no one will turn down new dungeons, right? The second DLC announced is a story DLC called Murkmire, and it's going to be taking place in the Black Marsh. This is the home of the Argonian race, which is great. So we are getting more story and we're getting a deep dive into the Argonian race, and I cannot wait to see what the story in this story DLC is going to be like. And so far, that's all we know with regards to these 2 DLCs. There's no solid release date yet, so stay up to date on their website and their social media and even their YouTube channel if you want to. But out of these 2 DLCs, it sounds good, coming out later this year. It's the story one that I'm really looking forward to, because I never roll anything besides the human race, so Argonians don't really mean anything to me. But, you know, as from the outside looking in, getting more lore about the Argonians will be pretty cool. And, you know, in the future, I hope this is a theme that Elder Scrolls Online kind of explores with its DLC. So from the dungeon side, it appears like there's going to be a particular team when it comes to exploring these dungeons. Like I said, we've had dragons and now we're going to werewolves, so the next one could be something else. As for story, we've already had, you know, the home of the High Elves in Somerset, and now we're going to the home of the Argonians. So what's the next one? Khajiit and elsewhere? I think that would be cool, and it's something to keep us ESO players looking toward the horizon in terms of new areas and new content. Another cool thing that Matt announced at E3 was that ESO now has 11 million players and counting. That's very cool, so congratulations to Bethesda, ZeniMax Online Studios, and of course ESO, the team behind there. And if I say so myself, you know, it's well deserved. So I suppose, ESO aside, let's go on and talk about the other games that I found interesting from E3. And in the meantime, if you guys followed E3 as well last week, feel free to start sharing your favorite games or your upcoming games that you are keeping an eye on in the comments section below. We'll start now by looking at EA and BioWare's Anthem. Now, Anthem for me, at the very beginning when the game was first announced, I saw it as a mixed bag. I did not know what to expect. Having just had Mass Effect Andromeda, I thought, you know what, Anthem, it looks and it sounds like a game I would not enjoy based on what the Mass Effect Andromeda experience was. E3 last week showed off a lot more of Anthem in terms of the gameplay, the co-op dynamic, the world, the combat system, and just by the trailers and the gameplay demos itself, I gotta say I am a little impressed. From a gameplay perspective, you are a freelancer and you're exploring this open world either through flying in the air like Iron Man, or on land, or even underwater, which all of the above we got to see through gameplay videos at E3, and I gotta say, it really impressed me. The online co-op play is indeed optional because more information have come out now about this the single player experience when it comes to the story. Now, BioWare as developers, they are very well known for story, as you guys know, and they are not getting rid of that element. I think I read somewhere that when it comes to the story, you can go off online and do like adventures and exploration with your friends or whatever, but when you come back to a base or whatever and you're going to start a new story, it's going to be instanced to you. So nobody else can come in there and ruin your story progression. That's just going to be all you. So in a way, it does remind me of maybe Star Wars The Old Republic story system, where, you know, you've got locked off areas where only you can come in unless you're grouped up with a friend or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I was also kind of curious to see just how much Anthem would look like Destiny and Destiny 2, simply because of the FPS mechanics and stuff like that. But really, my concerns is invalid because Anthem just looks like its own thing now, and I'm gonna keep an eye on this game, especially for the multiplayer part. I think that looks pretty cool. Now, for the rest of the conferences, Ubisoft had a pretty solid one, Microsoft had a pretty decent one as well. I'm a big fan of Gears of War, so Gears Tactics is one game that I'm keeping an eye out for because I love XCOM and XCOM 2. For those of you that know me personally, I have over 1,000 hours in XCOM 2. So having a Gears of War game set in a genre turn-based strategy game like XCOM is actually really enticing, and I've read the Gears of War novels as well, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. But besides that, honestly, nothing else is catching my eye. As for single player games, like, I've got friends and even family members that are pretty hyped up about The Last of Us 2 and Hideo Kojima's new game, Death Stranding. They showed off this brand new cinematic, which was kinda confusing, but at the same time pretty spooky. So I'm kind of curious to see how that game turns out, because, you know, there's so much hype and confusion surrounding that game. Like, every time they try and release something, it raises more questions than answers. The next solid game that I definitely know I'm going to get is, surprise surprise, from Bethesda, and it is Fallout 76. Now, full disclaimer here, I have never played a Fallout game. Yeah, you can shoot me all you want, but that's the honest truth. I've never played a Fallout game. Between the two big IP franchises that Bethesda has, The Elder Scrolls and Fallout, I've always gravitated towards The Elder Scrolls because of the fantasy setting, because, you know, it has just your quintessential RPG fantasy experience with dragons and different races and all that good stuff. Fallout just never attracted me for whatever reason. But the reason I'm going to be jumping into Fallout 76 is really a reason that I don't think is going to be popular with a lot of Fallout fans, which is basically the always online multiplayer mode. And for those of you wondering, no, it's not going to be an MMORPG or anything like that. You're still going to have a solo experience if you wanted to. It's just that in this huge open world, which is going to be taking place in West Virginia, every character that you come across is going to be a real player. So in a way, you can get to play with your friends, and other players are going to be populating this world as well. So you can either make friends or make enemies. And of course, you got all that Fallout goodness, which I've come to learn over the past couple of weeks, which includes base building and, you know, just stuff like that. And from what I've heard and seen at E3, I'm pretty interested. The game is 4 times bigger than Fallout 4, and a good friend of mine who's a big Fallout 4 nut has told me that that's a big claim, because Fallout 4 is pretty huge. And because it's always online, it's the multiplayer co-op thing that's really gonna make or break this Fallout. And that means the game is also threading a very thin line between a traditional RPG experience that Bethesda is known for, and taking advantage of this whole battle royale online shooter space. So we'll have to wait and see what the beta experience looks like, and everybody who pre-orders will obviously get into beta. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for that and jumping in and just seeing just how much this online multiplayer mode is going to either make the game or break the game. There's a feature that Fallout 76 has, which I haven't even touched on, which is basically the nuclear warhead codes. On the map, there's going to be several places with nuclear silos, and as players, your group of friends, you guys can scrounge around and look for these codes, and when you go and activate them at the various different silos, you can nuke any base or anywhere in the map. So if you have enemies or if you got people griefing you, just go out as a group, hunt some nuclear codes, and then just blow them out of the world. Now the next title is also from Bethesda, and this might skew this video one way to like the Bethesda highlight discussion or whatever, but no, the real honest truth is I've had a look at all the games covering for work, and I cover each of them, you know, factually and unbiased from a working perspective. But for me personally, as a gamer, nothing else really caught my eye. So let's talk about this game. It's called The Elder Scrolls Blades. This one I didn't expect. Like, in the back of my head, I knew Todd Howard was going to come. I knew he was going to announce The Elder Scrolls 6. He just had to. But The Elder Scrolls Blades is something that completely caught me off guard. This is a mobile Elder Scrolls game, so you can play it on your phones. And the thing with Blades is, for those of you with current gen phones like the iPhone X or the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S8, you'll get to run this. You can already go sign up for a test, and you know they'll contact you if you get chosen, then you can just download and play it. To be honest, it looks pretty good on a mobile phone screen. You'll have that quintessential Elder Scrolls experience, of course, in terms of running dungeons. There's also going to be arena PvP, and then there's this third mode called the Town, which happens to be your story mode. So you are a member of the Blades, and for those of you that know your Elder Scrolls lore, the Blades are dragon hunters, and I'm not sure when the story takes place or which time setting Blades is going to be in, but you come back from a campaign to your town and you find it, you know, deserted and destroyed. So now it's your job to build your town up again, and you're going to do this through adventuring in those dungeons and stuff like that, like I talked about, and doing quests as well, because this is going to be your story mode. Now, every time you level up your town, you get to do cool things with it, like, you know, upgrade your blacksmith or bring new NPCs in, and some of these NPCs will offer you new quests to go on as well. So it's not sounding like one of those shitty cash grab mobile games, and I pray to God it doesn't turn out that way, because anytime an MMO or like a big franchise, even from the movie world, announce a mobile game, it always turns out to be shit. So I'm just hoping that Blades doesn't end up like one of those games. The other cool thing about Blades is that it's going to be cross-platform, so if you're playing on your phone in the office, you could be, you know, PvPing in arena mode against somebody at home with a VR set on. That's right, I mean, you can actually play Blades in VR mode, which I think is pretty cool. There's also plans to release this on the Nintendo Switch, which is something better, I believe. I think the Switch is a better option to play this game on as compared to your mobile phone, simply because, you know, you have the dedicated Joy-Con controllers, and you can obviously tap and touch the screen as well. So that's Blades. Now let's briefly talk about the big reveal, The Elder Scrolls 6. It was a very, very brief trailer, which got everybody screaming in joy because it's been 7 years since Skyrim. So now all the hype and stuff is about figuring out where the area is. Where are we in The Elder Scrolls 6? Just based on that one landscape shot in the trailer with the high rock and everything. People are saying all kinds of things. Now, you guys can get into the discussion, or if you already know, feel free to tell me. I'm just going to wait and see. Now, the thing is, that is going to come after Bethesda's big IP game, which is Starfield. Starfield itself, again, not much has been revealed, just like an intro trailer, and we know it's going to be in space. But yeah, so considered the timeline, I don't think we'll see The Elder Scrolls 6 for a very long time. Give or take 4 years, maybe, even maybe 3 years. But 3 years minimum before we see the next Elder Scrolls game. And my final talking point about E3 is the Nintendo conference, which I watch in its entirety because I've now taken on a new job and a new project which involves the Nintendo Switch, so I had to watch things, and in the future I'm going to have to review Nintendo games as well, or Nintendo Switch games as to say, but you won't see that on my channel here. I'm Adrian. This is purely going to be my MMORPG space, but you know, I promise you will not see any Nintendo games here. But I will talk about it if MMORPGs come over to the Switch, because I am now an owner of a Nintendo Switch. So I had to buy it last week during E3, and, you know, to be fair, I've been having some fun with it. Again, no MMORPGs in the West are on the console, Nintendo Switch right now. In Japan, there's already 2 of them, Dragon Quest or something, and Fantasy Star Online. But beyond that, I've heard mention or rumors about Black Desert Online coming over, the mobile version, and of course ArcAge Begins, which is the ArcAge mobile version. So we'll have to see if more Asian MMOs come over. But that's a separate video. I'm going to be talking about MMORPGs on the Nintendo Switch. But just as a quick update, I am now a Nintendo Switch owner, and it's been an interesting few days with the Switch, I gotta admit. And that's basically it, really. So for you guys, if you guys have been following E3 this year, all last week, feel free to share your thoughts and your opinions about these games, and of course mention which games caught your eye the most during E3. Share all of that in the comments section below, and let's have a good discussion. So hit the like button for more videos, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more MMO content, but once a year I'll talk about E3 like I'm doing now. Once again, I'm Adrian, and I thank you for watching. Hey, welcome to the end screen. If you've made it this far, it means you've watched the entire video, and I thank you very much for that. If you want to watch more videos, you can click the cards at the bottom here, anyone would do. And you can subscribe to my channel by hitting the big round button here to get notifications on all my latest videos. See you guys in the next video.